Hello and welcome to Sports Week. I'm your host Dan Tracy. I'm joined once again by my strike partner Tolu Shahadi. Tolu, it's another massive weekend for Premier League action to pick apart this weekend. First up, you're going to the Etihad as Manchester City play host to Newcastle. City will be boosted by Arsenal's drop points in midweek. The impetus is with Pep Guardiola's men. Can they make it 3 wins in a row at the expense of the Magpies, who were rampant in midweek in their Champions League outing? So, what do you make of what will unfold in this one?
First up, City aren't Carabao, so Newcastle United are going to be scoring 6 goals at the Etihad, and I think we've come to the part of the season. It's almost like in golf when you talk about the front nine and the back nine. Some golfers start really well on the front nine, and then on the back nine, that's when the big boys actually come out. And I think City have got into the back nine now, and they are playing like potential champions all of a sudden. They still probably got the odd off day in them because you obviously know this City team is probably not as good as the City teams of the past, but I feel like they have gone up a gear. Unlike Arsenal, who you always seem to feel play a little within themselves, City are very expressive, especially at the Etihad, and their record against Newcastle is pretty decent. So if you take out the defeats in the Premier League away from home at St James's Park early in the season, you saw how they took Newcastle apart in the semi-finals of the EFL Cup, and I think they've been really smart with their acquisitions in the January window. Unlike Arsenal, who probably didn't need to strengthen, to be honest. But I think what City were missing in the first half of the season, I think they made up for it in the January window. I felt they needed a centre-back because the likes of John Stones, Nathan Ake, and they had to rely on Kuzinov for a couple of games. And I don't think he's ready to play in the championship winning team yet. And they went and got Matt Gahey, who's probably the best English central defender in the Premier League at the moment. And also, all season, we've struggled to see how they play with the wide men. You haven't really seen a lot of Savinho this year. Jeremy Doku has been in and out, had a spell where he was really good. Phil Foden has come and played out wide a bit, hasn't particularly worked. Oscar Bob has been a let go because he also hasn't particularly hit the heights. But they basically solved that problem and went and got Semenyo. And he's coming to the team. The two guys they've signed in the January window, Semenyo and Gahey, have basically worked into that City team and they've improved the squad almost immediately. So that City team from the first half of the season, they seem to struggle a bit in games. That's not the case any longer. So I think City are smelling blood. I think Arsenal's drawing midweek against Wolves will galvanise this City team. A win over Newcastle puts them potentially within 2 points of Arsenal. And if you've noticed the talk around the City camp throughout this title race is we have Arsenal at home at some point. They always said that. Even Guardiola always said they still have to come to the Etihad. And when it's down to 2 points, they go to the Etihad. You probably fancy City to get all 3 points. So I think City will be smelling blood. Newcastle, for all they've done, they've also played the extra game in midweek. So the legs aren't particularly fresh. Had to make that long trip to Carabao. That's not going to be in their favour. Eddie Howe is under a bit of pressure. Really, sometimes some managers are under pressure and you wonder how football really works nowadays. Someone like Eddie Howe, who's really made Newcastle a real strong, he's made them really strong. I don't think anyone thought that following the season where he came in and he avoided relegation, got them into the Champions League the very next season. I don't think any of the Newcastle fans expected that. But now that's what football is. You get judged by your own success. And I think he's probably been a victim of his own success. I think Newcastle United have the players to worry the City team. But I just feel like the exertions in midweek, the long trip to Carabao, and this City team knowing that their title rivals have dropped points, it just looks like a City win all over.
Well, let's look at Newcastle's recent results. They've all been on the road. They've beaten Tottenham in the Premier League, Aston Villa in the FA Cup, and also Carabao in midweek. 3 away wins, which is far from easy on paper. Newcastle's away form is not really anything to write home about. So the pressure that you rightly mentioned just a moment ago has been eased slightly on Eddie Howe's shoulders. But you also rightly say that it's a bit of a ghost ground of the Etihad. They never do well when it goes to travelling to Manchester City. So are you expecting the same problems this weekend?
Yeah, it's interesting what you've said about their recent away form. They went to Spurs and won, which under Thomas Frank almost everyone does. But the game against Villa was a very interesting one. They were under the cosh for a long time until the Villa keeper got sent off in the first half, and the game changed. I don't think anybody thought they were going to lose in Carabao. But this is City, yeah. And I just feel like Newcastle will probably look at this game. They've still got the second leg of Carabao to come, so that's an extra game, even though they probably will rest players. But I feel like it's a game that, in the grand scheme of things, I think Newcastle would look at and feel it's not one that they particularly. I feel if they had something to play for, they'd probably go out to City and be a little pragmatic and try to stay in the game. But I feel like it's a game where they've got exertions from midweek. I think they'll just go out to City and probably try to express themselves a bit. And I think that's what's going to really play into the hands of this City team. City are rampant at home all of a sudden. Erling Haaland finally got a goal again last time out. I just have that sneaky feeling that this Newcastle United team, they played a lot of games this season. And if there's one thing that everyone has said about this team, is the fact that they look a little tired, especially when they play teams who move the ball and keep possession for a bit and allow them to run around to try and get the ball a bit. And I think that's what's going to happen against City. Will they have the legs to chase City around for the 90 minutes? I don't think that's possible. So I think that's going to be a key factor. They're a good team. They'll go to many grounds and cause problems. But I think the current wave that City are on, plus Arsenal dropping points, I just don't see Newcastle as that team that goes to the Etihad and stops City from closing the gap on the Gunners.
Okay then, Tolu, it's time to put your betting cap on. Which way does this go? What takes your fancy?
This is also probably going to shock you a bit. I've maybe not shock you, but I feel like City will win pretty convincingly. So I probably will go a handicap bet. Probably goes -1 for Manchester City. I think they'll win by 2 clear goals, if not more. I probably personally will probably go -2, but just to be safe, I'll go -1. I don't think Newcastle United will be able to stop City. I think City will make a real statement and pile the pressure on Arsenal. I don't think it will be more about what Arsenal do against Spurs. I think it will just be about what City do against Newcastle to show Arsenal that every time you drop a point, we will respond with a dominant performance. So I think it will be a dominant performance from City, and I think they will win by at least 2 clear goals against Newcastle.
Newcastle fans won't like that one, but I like the sound of it all the same, Tolu. Until next time, thank you very much.
You're welcome.